All right, everyone. What's up? I want to welcome you guys to episode 6 of the Improv Life, Fernando's Improv Blog podcast. Wow, 6 episodes so far. Today, I have a very special guest. I have a guy who I am just totally in awe of. One of the most amazing improvisers I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot. Please get up for my friend Jorge Berrios. Jorge, how you doing, brother?
Whoop, whoop. Bro, Fernando, I can tell you this. Out of all the times I've seen you perform, which is many, I've always had a great time watching you perform. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of times where I'll watch you and I'm like, where did he think of that? And it's like my brain is like, I wish that I could think of stuff like that. So,
dude, well, for you, man, like you are literally the most physical improviser I've ever seen. And like you use it as an extension of yourself, not as a crutch. Because I see some improvisers that are very physical, but it's because like I'm not good at other stuff, so I'll be physical. But with you, like you're like physical. It's like you're a live cartoon character. It's pretty amazing. I actually want to ask you about that. Like, were you a dancer growing up? Did you do gymnastics or something? Like why are you so like Stretch Armstrong? You're so flexible and bendy, and it's all natural too. I've never seen you do it forced. It's like for you, it's like your characters just have to like dance through the world.
it's like home. Yeah. I think, so for me, it's funny that you say that, like, sometimes it's a crutch. I think in the beginning of my improv, I felt like everybody was a lot smarter and like wittier than me and like really fast. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm that fast. And so I was like, what can I do to be that fast, but not with my thoughts or my speech? And I was like, oh, I can get physical. And so I think that for me, I kind of like hid behind my physicality in the beginning of my improv for sure. But then I was able to like hone in like, okay, if I listen, it's not about being fast. It's about just letting myself process what they're saying, but still use my physicality. I think for me, growing up Cuban, Puerto Rican in Miami, you have to dance. I think
Dancing is big.
dancing is huge. I've watched, like, it's so funny. I've been watching a lot of like Hollywood Masters and like Inside the Actors Studio. And there's a lot of writers, directors, actors that are male that'll say like, well, it was a drama club and I wasn't really interested, but that's where the women were. And so that's where I went. And so it was like, for me, I guess my version of that story is if you can't dance, women aren't attracted to you in Miami. So I was just like, I need to figure this out. And I also danced 9 quinceañeras when I was
You were
a
like
kid.
a professional chambelán?
Dude, I was the chambelán of 2 years. It was like when I was 14, 15, and then a little bit into when I was 16, I just danced quinceañeras. Because when you dance one and you're like kind of good, they're like, "Oh, can you dance mine?" Like one of the girls is gonna be like, "Oh, dance
True.
mine," because my birthday's in 2 months, and so it's like, "Oh, then dance mine. Oh, then dance mine." And so I just had a run where I was like, "Listen, whether I want to dance or not, I'm gonna have to learn how to dance."
You were in 9 quinceañeras?
Yeah, there was one. There was
And they
one
must
where
be
like,
huge in Miami, I imagine. They must be
dude,
they must be events.
it's that rite of passage for sure. There was this one girl that her parents like owned a restaurant, and so they had a couple dollars, and so like we ended up getting this professional choreographer where we were doing like samba and we were doing flamenco, and we like, because usually quinceañera, you're like, okay, salsa, merengue, maybe bachata, the waltz,
Yeah.
and then like a little bit of back and forth sway while she talks about her friends and her family, and then that's it. We cut the cake or whatever, and then we all dance. But this was like a laser light show. Like the quinceañera started at like 7 and it ended at midnight. And
Wow.
then people got to party. Yeah, dude, it was
You were dancing till midnight? Like all these
bro.
routines and stuff?
Yeah. There
What's
was
the
a
incentive for that? Like it was just like I get to be the center of attention? Because I mean, you definitely are when you're in that position.
Yeah, I guess I get, yeah, it's in the spirit of a girl becoming a woman. We celebrate her. For me, in my mind, because so in Miami we weren't called chambelanes. I don't even know what we were called, because it was just like we were the court.
Oh,
Um,
okay. See, I've only been to Mexican quinceañeras here in SoCal,
right.
or like Salvadoran ones ever. So they say chambelanes, but it's the same concept. You were part of the court. You were like a knight in the court.
Right, same exact concept. I honestly don't even know what we're called, but I know that I was always a guy in a quinceañera. I was one of the couples. That's what we would call ourselves. And I was always the last one because I was the tallest one. So they were always like, okay, who's the tallest girl that I know? That's the girl I'm gonna put with Jorge. But it was cool because you had 14 couples, and then she was the 15th couple, and it was like, so all of us held all
14 couples.
Yeah, dude. So
dude, that's mega. That is huge.
So
that's a gigantic quinceañera. I don't know if I've ever seen 14. I think I see like 7 or 8. 14 though.
Okay, yeah. So things are different in Miami. So
okay.
So I guess I don't know if it's Cuban culture. I don't know if it's Latin. I don't know if it's Latinx Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
All the quinceañeras I danced, it was 14 couples, and then she was the 15th one with the guy that she danced with. So we would all hold candles. And so she would blow out 14 candles, and then her mom and dad would be at the tip, and they would have that 15th candle.
Oh my God.
And as she's blowing out the candle, she would either have a microphone and tell a story about every person, or it would be pre-recorded, a voiceover. And it's like, I just want to thank everyone that's within my life and my friends. And then like there's a portion where the DJ's like, let's say the girl's name is like Isabel. Like,
yeah.
Isabel's favorite movie was Gone with the Wind. Her dream car is a Ford Mustang convertible. Like, just like fun facts of like insane. And then we're all just like, all right, we've been practicing these dances for 2 months. All we want to do is eat and dance. So that was a really long answer into segueing into why I'm so physical.
No, it was a great answer though. Are you kidding me? That's like your origin story. Like I had no idea. But now that you said that, that makes total sense. I've been to enough quinceañeras to know that those dances they're no joke.
Dude.
You know, it's a big deal. But the fact that you were like semi-professional at it, you know, like 9 quinceañeras, like you're lucky if you get to do one in life. I never did one. I'm not graceful at all. That's why I'm so logical or whatever. But like to do 9 of them, that must mean like you were being scouted and stuff.
Yeah. I guess through my other quinceañeras, they were like, okay, who can dance here? Who can dance? Okay, Jorge can really hold his own. All right. Well, at least I have one guy here. And it's like, well, the other thing is that your parents have to buy the suit, or you rent the suit. And that suit rental is like, can cost $50 to $80. My mom was like, otra quinceañera. And I was like, Mami, ¿qué voy a hacer? I think what it was payback to my mom for never letting me do sleepovers ever. I was actually having a conversation with someone about this a couple of days ago. I never got to sleep over anyone's house. My mom was like, tú siempre llegas para atrás para la casa. Like you're always coming back home. And I was like, okay. And so my friends would have sleepovers, and they were like, Jorge, you know, you can stick around. And I was like, no, I got to go home. My mom doesn't let me. And so then the quinceañera run happened, and my first ever quinceañera, the entire court stayed at her house, and we pulled an all-nighter, like a slumber party. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to have, you know, back then FOMO wasn't a thing, but I was like, I'm going to miss out on everybody hanging out. Like, don't do this to me.
You need that chemistry if you're going to be performing together.
The chemistry. We'll touch on that again, because I feel like that is so important in improv and just in life, really.
No, yeah. I mean, you're definitely right. But here's the thing. I took some dance classes when I was younger. So there you go.
Ooh.
And, yeah. I wasn't good at it, though. I definitely, just so you know, side note, I've done many things in life where I'm like, that's not for me.
Copy that. But you gave it a chance.
Yeah, I gave it a chance because I was like, all right, I'm going to try this because I've always had an interest, or it seems interesting. And I'm like, I don't have enough natural ability at it to have patience to stick with it in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like sometimes if you're good at something right away, or you have like some feeling for it, you're willing to kind of just like wade through the suckiness. Like, all right, I'm going to suck for a long time, but I like this enough that I'm going to stick with it. And eventually I'll get good. I feel like improv is that way, definitely.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff where you're just like, fuck, I don't know if I'm ever going to be good at this.
Yes.
And you kind of have to say no to it.
I feel you on that. Well, and with dancing, it's so interesting because I feel like dancing is like improv, where it's like there is no right or wrong. You could just do it, but like people that dance professionally are like, well, this is how you're supposed to dance salsa, and this is how you're supposed to dance merengue, or just dance in general. I remember I dated someone that she would just dance, and like I would like try to dance with her. Like sometimes we would try to dance merengue or salsa, but she would do her own thing, and I was just like, it was a, it was in the beginning, it was challenging for me because I was like, no, these are the correct steps. But when I released it and we just danced and I just grooved with her, it just made sense. And this was like, I want to say like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I was just like, man, maybe I just got to let go of like this. And like, and that's in life, of like just letting go what I think is the right dance move. So
Wow,
just
dude.
dance, Fern. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're right. I remember last year we did that party at Second City for the Second City Diversity and Comedy Festival. We did that dance party at that bar around the corner. I forget what it
Yes.
was. It was I think the black version played, and there was like it was like the closing party of the festival or something like
Yes, it was the Nickelodeon stage.
that. Yes,
Um,
yes, and we all got crazy with the dancing, and
oh
that
my
was
God.
fun. And you got crazy as well. You were doing some odd
Those
moves out there, you know?
dude, well, we started doing like a fake, like an imaginary double dutch. I don't know if you were there for
Oh,
that.
yes, I remember
We
that.
just we had no jump ropes in our hands, but we did a fake double dutch, and then people were just dancing within the fake jump ropes. Like we were just being silly, and it was so fun. It was so
Oh,
fun.
that was a great night, actually. That was a really fun night.
Yeah.
You're right. You know, it's funny. I feel like the dancing, it just the right steps. I feel like improv is like that a lot. Like a lot of times, like sometimes if you play with someone who's like really grounded in their like school or way of doing things, like if you throw, I'll say a monkey wrench, you just do a choice that isn't in line with their philosophy. They're kind of like, "What are you doing? Like that's not what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do." But it's kind of like you're just doing what you think is right. You know, and it
Yeah.
could be influenced from whatever school or whatever place in your being. You know, that's not
For
always
sure.
necessarily like improv. Just like, oh, I'm being an actor right now. This is how I'm going to respond to the moment. But you're
Yeah.
right. You just kind of have to go with it.
Yeah. It's that element of like, it's like when you're in a scene, and like for me in the beginning I was like, okay, who, what, where, who, what, where, who, what, where, can't do anything else besides the who, what, where. And then it's like I'm missing out on the fun. There's great madness happening in front of me that's so fun, and I'm over here like, okay, but I don't know what their name is, so I'm just gonna give them a name. And so we force this name, and it's like, why? But we were over here planting trees, and it was such a great scene. And then I was like, well, Dr. Johnson, like, come on. Like
All
it
right.
wasn't necessary. Yeah, we didn't have to know that yet.
Everybody can relate to doing that scene where someone drops a name at the most random place because you feel you have to honor that rule or whatever, and you're just like, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" It kind of takes you out of it. I mean, I guess it's correct, but sometimes you could discover the name later on or whatever.
Yeah,
But when it feels really forced, it's a little jarring because you're kind of like, "Oh, okay, I guess I needed to know that." Whatever, I just kind of want to forget it now because it's such a random thing.
right. Right.
Uh,
Let me get back to peeling these back to peeling these apples and really getting a connection with our relationship, because that's more important.
exactly. So I want to get back to the containers a little bit. So did you enjoy having all those people watch you? Like, was that validating for you? Was that the first time you had attention like that? Was it normal for
Uh
you? How was that? Because I feel like you're a great performer in the sense I've never seen you shrink. I'm sure you have your bad nights. I haven't seen many of them. I have my bad nights as well. But I feel like some people, like, it takes them for a while to own the stage. And I feel like you own it. So I'm wondering if you've always been like that, or, like, did any of your youth experiences get you ready for that?
I think that, and thank you for those kind words, Fernando. I mean, it's so fun to just, I think for me, it's so fun to be on stage because for a long time I was never on stage. Because I started improv in 2014. So I was in my mid 20s at that point. And so I had lived a life of corporate America. Like
Really?
I graduated high school, and I worked at a call center for 6 years. And
Jeez.
then I worked at a car dealership for 2 years after that, and then moved to LA to pursue improv at Second City. But I took what I could get when I was a kid. So like quinceañeras for me were like, yeah, this is my time to shine, because I love to dance. I mean, okay. So funny backstory about me. When
Please,
I
please. I'm loving it.
when when I was a kid, I was very overweight and I had glasses. I talk about it a little bit in my solo show, but it's like that really impacted me in a way where like I would get made fun of, or like I remember a girl one time told me, "I really like your eyes, but I don't like you," and so I
Oh,
was just
that's
like,
fucked
"Ooh,
up.
dagger to the heart."
Oh my god.
Um, but so I spent a lot of time in like indoors because I couldn't go to sleepovers and I couldn't go to friends' houses. My mom and dad were very like
Mhm.
sheltering with me in the beginning. So I stayed at home a lot. So I watched a lot of movies with my dad, but I would also listen to the radio a lot. And my closet doors here are mirrors, and so my closet doors in Miami are also mirrors. And so I would watch music videos, and then I'd be like, okay, this is the, and then I'd look at myself in the mirror and I would try to replicate those moves so that maybe one day at a party I can do these moves. And I think it was when I got into like middle school when like parties were actually like something that I could go to, and I realized that knowing the lyrics to songs or knowing the dance moves to a music video gave me favor. And like people were like, "Oh, this guy's cool. He knows all the words to that Backstreet Boys song and he knows the dances." And so that for me kind of gave me like a taste of like, "Oh, okay. This is a thing that I can do and this is a thing that works." And so then through my middle school years, I started getting thinner. I threw away my glasses. I just stopped wearing glasses.
Oh,
I
wow.
should wear them now. Like I have one eye that sees close but not far, and the other one sees far but not close. So if they're both open, we're good. But if I close an eye, then we're having problems. See, it already looks blurry on this side. So fun fact: don't if I ever have an eye patch on, it's gonna be a problem with that sketch or that scene. Um, but so once I started getting skinnier, then my face started to break out and I had really heavy acne. Like I had
Oh.
I was that kid that you were like, dude, that kid's face is jacked up. Like that was me. And so once again, shelter yourself because you don't want people to see this face. But in retrospect, more dance moves, more studying of lyrics. And so I spent a lot of time in front of that mirror, kind of like honing in my dance skills. And so whenever I danced the quinceañera, I was like, okay, this is my time. And then it's like, but hold on, Jorge, you can't outshine la quinceañera. This is her time, not your time. And I'm like, dope. But when she's done and she cuts that cake and we start to dance, then I'm breaking it down.
Dude, you could write a whole book on that probably, huh? That's such a
On
cool, interesting experience.
like dealing with societal bullying through dance.
Well, yeah, man. Like, hey, I've been overweight my whole life. I was skinny for like a few years there, but I've been overweight. Latinos don't have a lot of
Dude,
patience for fat people.
well, and you're just,
Yeah.
we're not bred, we're not made to be thin because like I remember going to friends' houses and they're like, "Oh, toma un plato," and like the mom serves me like a huge plate of food, and I'm a fast eater, and so I would eat it so fast that they would be like, "Ay, te encantó. Here, have another plate." And I'm like, no, no. In my mind, I'm like, no, 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 no. But my mom and dad were always like, wherever you visit someone, you eat that entire plate because you have to be a gentleman. Like
Dude,
that's being a
that's the
gentleman is
thing.
is clearing the plate. And so I was like, okay, I gotta clear this plate, but now I have to clear a second one. And so I was just getting bigger because you never wanted to say no to food. And it's especially being a first generation a kid from immigrant parents, it's like, well, my mom and dad are like, where I came from, food is scarce. And so I'm going to feed you because that is how I love you, because I didn't have that in my island where I'm from, or my country where I'm from.
Dude, you just hit a bombshell. Food is so important in our households and
Yeah.
the relationships behind them and meal times and stuff like that. And you're totally right. And all those things affect your weight. It's like, hey, don't be fat, but let's have 4 meals a day or something. If you have a
Yeah.
snack or something. But you're right, because my parents did grow up. They're from El Salvador, and like it's food scarcity. It's like, let's make enough food to last a week. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to eat leftovers fucking for 3 days, but whatever, I'll do it. Because that's how it is. But you're right. There's a very sacred relationship with food. And like my dad's one who's like, don't limit You know, if there's
Yeah.
food, eat it. You know, eat as much as you want. But also, he grew up fucking with food scarcity, so of course he's gonna be like, eat your heart's desire, because he couldn't. You know.
Yeah.
But here in America, though, it's like, I mean, at least for me, there's enough food. You know, there's
Yeah.
plenty of fucking food.
Yeah.
It's like learning how to just say no or be like, that's enough. I don't know.
Right.
I could definitely agree with you on that one. That like immigrant parents being like, we have to eat as much as possible, but save it at the same time. Don't get too fat. It's a lot of shit.
It's an oxymoron. Yeah. It's like, wait, what? And then the interesting thing is that when we say no, it's not because we're saying no to them or the culture or the belief. We're saying no because we're stuffed and we can't eat anymore. But for that, and not all immigrant parents, but like in the mind, it's like, oh no, you have to eat, because this is love. And then when we say no, it's like, oh wait, but you don't love me, or you don't love the fact that I made this food. And it's like, no, I love you and I care about you so much, and I cannot have another 7 cups of rice with beans.
Dude, it's funny at my house because I live at home with my family. All of us live together, and my parents retired. I mean, they're kind of, my mom retired officially, my dad's still not retired, but he's furloughed. So like I wake up at 6 a.m. to work at 7 in my kitchen, you know, because I work from home. And like sometimes me and my dad are hungry, and we're like, fuck, we're hungry. And like, all right, let's go buy a breakfast at the corner or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes my mom will get her feelings hurt so much. She's like, you guys had breakfast that I didn't make?
Wow.
Are you getting tired of my food? What do you think? Are you getting tired of me?
Mm.
And it's the thing, like, no, we're just literally at 7 a.m. We're hungry. You're asleep. Don't take it personal. But it's like, all right. No, we got to be very diplomatic, very careful with our feelings, very delicate. Because you're right. When you cook for someone in our culture, it's love. You know, if you like to cook, you like to eat. Because if you're a good cook, it's gonna be good. But it's act of love, and it's hard to say no to an act of love. But sometimes you're just like, I'm not hungry. I've had enough, or I really do want to like change my lifestyle or my life choices.
Right, and it has nothing to do with me loving you less. And it's interesting because you could say, I wanted you to stay sleeping, and it's like, no, you should have woken me up.
Oh, dude, I have literally told her that, like twice, 3 times a week during quarantine. It's like, no, I'm really happy that you're asleep. I would rather have you get enough sleep than wake up and make me food. Like, don't worry about it.
Right.
Well, this is really interesting. So, when did you figure out then that I want to be a comedian? I want to do improv? Because like, were you a fan of comedy growing up? Like what happened? Because that's a big choice. Because I got lucky. I live in Orange County. I literally just drive up an hour.
Yeah.
You literally had to fly across country. That must have been.
I drove.
Big decision. Oh, you drove. Never mind.
I drove for 4 days. Yeah.
You drove for 4 days. What kind of car did you drive in?
It was a Honda Accord. It was a
What year?
It was so I came in 2014. It was a 2013. I ended up.
Oh, that's good then. At least
because I worked at a car dealership, so I had a couple hookups. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, it would have sucked if it was like a '96 Honda Accord.
Dude, it could have been a 2000. It could have been a 2007 Chevy HHR. That was my car in Miami. Dude, and it was like I had bass in the back. Like you could hear me coming from a mile away. I was a Miami boy, 100%. Like just bass blow, because it was like my brother always had bass in his car, and I was like, I have to have bass in my car. Yeah, bass culture. Yeah, dude, it's so huge in Miami. But so since I was home and I would watch TV, Whose Line Is It Anyway? For me was like, what is this? Like, it was like, because I grew up watching a lot of Jim Carrey. Like, I remember watching The Mask in theaters, and I remember just like watching it and being like, this is magic. Like, I can't believe it. And then also, obviously, Mrs. Doubtfire and Jumanji and, like, anything Robin Williams, really. I mean, the Genie and Aladdin.
We grew up in the era of the great character comics. Yes. I would have to say that. You're right. Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, Jack Black, Mike Myers.
Oh, Mike Myers.
You know what I mean? Like, you still see those movies, but not as much. Back then, there was just so many of them. Maybe they weren't all great, but there's more than enough ones where like I can watch that a million times. So
yeah, I used to quote Austin Powers all the time. All the time.
Here, dude. I
all the
know.
time. I mean, I know the entire song of Dr. Evil when he's like, from the moment I heard Frau say I had a clone, I knew that I'd be safe because I'd never be alone. That Just the Two of Us song that he does. I recorded
What?
that song on my Talk Boy. Remember Talk Boys from Home Alone 2?
The fucking silver little box thing?
Dude,
You
I
got a
had a
talk
Talk
boy?
Boy and I put it to my TV and recorded the Dr. Evil song and would replay it every night. And I was like, I'm going to learn these lyrics because that was my thing. I was like, oh, I just made that connection right now.
What? Dude, that's awesome, bro. That's pretty fucking cool. That means
Yeah,
like that means you're a comedian. If you're doing that shit,
I think
you're a
so, huh?
comedian. Like, are you kidding me? No. I mean, like, well, all the comedians I talk to, like, I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of the ones, I'm going to say, all right, a lot of good comedians that I know, a lot of them are just fans of comedy. That's why you become a comedian. Like, why else would you become a comedian if you don't love comedy? So,
Right.
of course, you're going to have these things that might be bizarre to someone else, like recording that, but to anybody else, of course, I would have done that with a talk boy. Man, I would have recorded so much shit.
Yeah.
You know, I used to print out Saturday Night Live sketches. And there was like some website that had
Wow.
SNL sketches, and I'd find my favorite ones, and I would print them and just read them. And just like, oh, this is hilarious. To me, that was normal. But maybe for
Yeah.
someone else, it's like, well, you already saw it once. Why see it again? It's like, no, I have to
Oh,
consume it over and over. Like,
dude,
I'm,
I got Toy Story for Christmas or whatever year it came out on VHS. I watched it every day.
oh
Every day.
shit, that's
Every
nice.
morning it was wake up, pop in Toy Story and just watch Toy Story. Sometimes twice. Like but it was just like this was what I want. I grew up watching movies over and over again. My dad hurt like a digit in his back
Oh
and he
shit.
was on workers' compensation. So he was at home a lot. And so we would watch a lot of movies. But the thing was, we would watch a lot of the same movies. So I've seen Spaceballs probably 200 times.
Dude,
And,
fuck. Oh
and,
wow.
and we're talking John Candy. You're talking about Rick Moranis. Like it was just constantly. And so I would see the timing and I could see like where the comedy was coming from. So Spaceballs for me was like there. And so a combination of Spaceballs, a combination of Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, Mike Myers, and then whose line is it anyway? And I mean, there's probably things that I'm forgetting for
Dude, it's
sure.
made a connection. You are an explosive comedian. Oh, I could see how those influences, because they're explosive comedians.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Like
really
there,
cool, man. Wow, that's a really cool connection, actually.
I guess for me, it was like, how can because I would watch like Jim Carrey's physicality in The Mask and in like Ace Ventura for sure. And just like, okay, this is going to sound weird, right? Because he's so physical in such great comedic films. I think his physicality in Liar Liar is also, I mean, when he beats himself up in that bathroom, I mean, Jim Carrey is going in, and the part where he's like, there's a part where they pull up his car, and he's like, that scratch wasn't there before. And the guy's like, what scratch? And he's like, this scratch right here. And
Oh yeah.
he's like, that was already there. And then he's like, I forget the run on, but he's like, I would take you to small claims court, but then you're not going to show up and I'm going to waste my time and I'm going to have no money. So screw it. Just give me my keys. Like whenever Jim Carrey rants like that, where he's just like, and then he's just like, just give me this thing that I want. It's so funny.
No, you're right, dude. No, he is hilarious. I've seen Dumb and Dumber like a million times. I've
Oh,
actually
so good.
shown that movie to people who they've never seen it, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? We got to sit down and watch this movie.
That's a
It's
gift what
it's
you're giving people.
yeah, but it's so stupid. It's a great combination, him and Jeff Daniels. But you're right, Jim Carrey, like he doesn't waste a moment. He doesn't
Right.
waste a choice. You know,
Right.
like that's why you'll remember everything from him. Like it's just like he's so involved, he's so present. And as comedians, we all want to be that, but like you're not always going to achieve it, you know? I'm
Yeah,
sure he had some bad takes, but his good takes are so amazing. They live in memory forever.
dude. It's just, I mean, and you're talking, I mean, Dumb and Dumber is creme de la creme because you have the three movies that came out because he spoke to a I don't know if it was a palm reader or
Like a psychic, right? I
a
think I know what you're talking
psychic.
about.
There you go. I had a brain
Yeah.
fart.
Yeah.
But the psychic said you're gonna do three movies and they're gonna change your life forever. And he ended up doing The Mask Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. The crazy part about all that is that The Mask, he actually got before the other two movies, but production got delayed, so he already got paid, and I think he only got paid like 250 or something $1,000. Like it wasn't that much. But then he did Ace Ventura, and he did Dumb and Dumber, and then he ended up still doing The Mask for the same amount of money.
Really?
Yeah, because he was like, hey, I already agreed to it. And so whenever I watch The Mask after knowing that, I'm like, this dude gave that much effort and didn't even get paid the amount that he should have gotten paid as Jim Carrey at that point. But this is only an assumption, right? I've never heard him talk about this, but it's like, you were like, I don't care, I get to play. And he gave us such magic in The Mask because Stanley Ipkiss is such a wimp and everything that can go bad goes bad for that character. But then as The Mask, he's so big. And for a while when I would perform, I would kind of ask myself in my mind, who am I? Am I Stanley Ipkiss or am I The Mask right now? Like, am I going to be a grounded character or am I going to be a big character? And I would ask myself that question. Like, I don't think I've ever shared that with anybody. This is the first time I share that.
No, I think that's cool, man. Wow, what an amazing question to ask yourself before going on stage. Because that just shows how present you are in the moment. I think for some people, you're obviously like a really good performer. I think for some people, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna go on stage. I don't want to fail. But if you're in that state of being like, all right, straight man or absurd, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That shows some pretty advanced technique and confidence in yourself. But I want to go back to this though. Like,
yeah.
So why did you come out here though?
Oh yeah. I'm going on tangents, bro. My bad.
No, I love it, man. Like, because we're talking about what inspires you and like the craft and the technique, and people want to know that stuff. I think it's important.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because, like, I don't know. It's just it's literally the other corner of the country.
Yeah. Well, so I started, okay. So when I was working at the call center, this woman, her name is Elizabeth, she got hired to work in one of the accounts. And at that point I was a trainer. So I was a corporate trainer. I was training people on how to take calls at the call center. And I was her trainer. And during one of the breaks in class, she said, have you ever heard of the Second City? And I said, no, what's that? And she said, oh, it's a comedy school that I think that you would be good at because like you're very like animated and you're really good at like talking and you just look like you look like a person that would be on that stage. It was almost as if she manifested it with her mouth. It was insane. And at that point, I mean, I was young. I was probably like 19 or 20. No, at this point, no, I was probably 22 because my 18, 19, 20, I was still an agent. I was still taking calls, and then I got promoted to a corporate trainer. And so I was just like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'll check it out. I never checked it out. And then I forgot. I think I was looking up where Mike Myers or where Dan Aykroyd or John Candy went to school. Just like one day, like my brain was like, where did these people study? Because like I always grew up with them, but I never knew where they went. And then boom, Second City pops up. And I'm like, oh, this thing that Elizabeth talked about. So then I looked up their website. Their website was like, dude, this was probably 2000. When was this? This was 2011, 2012 or 10. I can't remember. But like the website was no good. I was like, I don't even know what this is. It was all like, it looked like a MySpace page. Everything was written out. Yeah, there was like one picture of like one teacher. And so I was just like, well, it is what it is. And then I saw that there were like levels, like A through F. And then you had to go through this thing called the conservatory program because I looked up Chicago. And so I was just like, okay, it is what it is. And then during my run in working in corporate America, there was this thing that kept happening. There was this thing that kept happening to me. When you're bilingual, sometimes your other accent wants to come out.
You know that problem.
And so every time I wanted to get promoted, they would say, and in Miami, I would go by George. I wasn't Jorge till I moved out here.
Are you
But
serious?
yeah,
I thought
yeah,
they
yeah,
were more
yeah.
Spanish friendly in Miami.
Well, no, I identified as George, which
Oh,
is a
okay.
whole nother thing. It's a whole nother
No
thing
worries,
of
no
like,
worries. Yeah.
of like me just like growing up being Cuban, Puerto Rican American. I thought that George was just my name. And if you were from Cuba or from the country that wasn't America, then you would go by Jorge. And so I thought that I had to go by George because I was born in America.
Well, I can understand that.
Yeah, it became this whole identity thing of like, well, no, I'm not them. I'm American. It was this whole thing. And it became
We've all
very
been through
weird.
that, I think.
Yeah. And then I was like, hold on, bro. My name is spelled Jorge. Let's get with it. But so they would say, listen, George, we want to promote you, but we need you to be less funny, more serious. And so I heard that twice in two different jobs, less funny, more serious. And I was like, no, I want to go somewhere. I want to go somewhere. I want to go somewhere where they say more funny, less serious. Or are you going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off?
No. It's just, you are a very serious guy, though. I mean, I didn't mean that in the most respectful way possible. I'm not saying you're like bitter or anything like that. Like, you have a lot of integrity and respect for yourself. And yeah, you do bits, but when I've interacted with you, you're like a very serious guy because you take the craft so seriously.
Yeah. Well,
So
I think
is it that these people just? Oh, okay, all right, never mind. Maybe back then. Maybe back then you were more goofy.
You've met me at a point where I've been able to get out all the funny that I wanted to be.
Were you just doing bits 24/7 back then? Is that what it was?
Constant. Imagine me training a class 8 hours a day, just clowning, teaching the curriculum, but clowning the entire time. Where my boss is like, "Okay, they're learning it, but you need to calm down," you know. But I had no outlet. I had no second city. There was nothing. So the stage for me was my classroom, where I would teach.
So that's where that part of you got unlocked, or got unlocked further.
Yeah, because when I first became a corporate trainer, I was like, can I do this? Can I teach a class of 30, 40, 50 people? And then like we would do St. Jude Children's Research Hospital would do radiothons, and our call center was the one who would take the calls. And so I would train 500 people to then take these calls, and in Spanish. So like my Spanish had to like be really good, and it was like all donation based, but I faced a lot of fears by becoming a corporate trainer. But I also, let's go back for a second. When I was an agent, if somebody called and they talk like this, then I would switch and I would talk like them. And so I would start doing their accents. And I remember I used to sell concert tickets. And this guy was like, I do not speak English, only Russian. And I was like, I speak Russian. You will buy tickets. Like I would just mess around because he almost did. I almost got him. There was this one lady though that she was just like, I know you don't speak this accent, but I'm going to buy it because you tried.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
I think it was more like this, but she could tell that it wasn't from her native tongue. But she said, you know what? I like you, and I'm going to buy these tickets.
That's funny, dude. Wow. So you basically got a big platform. You just didn't know it. You were just like, oh, it's going to be me. And you excelled at your job still, which is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. And back then there was no option to record the calls. Like now calls are recorded automatically. But back then no calls were recorded. So you could literally clown around and like there was no proof. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you're right. Because every time you call now, it's like this call will be monitored for quality.
Correct. So back in my day, you had to press a button to record the call or not. So sometimes I would just be like, "Oh, this is a good accent. I'm not going to record this call."
Dude, so you trained all these people on how to do calls or whatever.
Yeah.
But you were doing bits and characters while training them. But these people they must have enjoyed it because I imagine that kind of training has to be a little boring.
Dude, when you're sitting in a chair for 8 hours, you have to have a trainer that's at least remotely interested in what he's doing and is having fun doing it. And so for me, that's where I found success. And then when they told me we want to promote you, but we need you to be less funny, more serious, I said, okay, I'm out. And like, I don't know where I grew the cojones to do something like that, but I was just like, okay, I'm done. And so then I applied to the call center at Mercedes where my friend was working, and they said, no, we want you to interact with customers. We want you to teach them their cars. I was like, okay. So now I was actually interacting with people, teaching them their cars. It's called like a delivery specialist. But at that point, I started living with one of my buddies, and I was going to Miami-Dade College at the time. And him and I, in 2010, no, 2012, we did a Shakespeare play together in Miami, and that was the first time I had ever done anything theatrical. I took an acting 1 class, and my professor said, I want everyone to audition for this Shakespeare play. It was Twelfth Night. And it's not because I want you to be in it. If you're in it, great. But I just want you to experience an audition. I had never even auditioned for anything. So I go in there and I audition. It's my first ever audition. And my teacher obviously helped me. And I get Duke Orsino, which is basically the lead role of the play. And I was shook. And then I had to memorize these lines. And so then that was an act of bravery within myself where I was just like, okay, maybe this is something that I can do. So then cut to like a couple of months before that. Yeah, I got to go backwards still because this is a crucial part. My brother.
This interview is like Inception, you know.
Yeah. My timelines are all jacked. Okay, let's go back to 2012 for a second. And so Christmas of 2011, my brother buys me classes for the Improv Comedy Club stand-up classes, because my brother knew that I would also watch a lot of stand-up comedians. And so my brother gives me this piece of paper, and it's like classes at the Coconut Grove Improv Club. Rest in peace. It's no longer there. And Fernando, I looked at this piece of paper, and I looked at my brother, and I said, bro, thank you so much. And then I thought in my head, I'm going to drive over, I'm going to return it, get the money, and give it back to my brother. Because there was no way that I was going to do stand-up. Like, I was shook. I was crapping my pants looking at it, and I was so scared. But I was like, well, let's show up to the first class. I go to the first class. Dude, there were 12 students. At the end, there were 4 students. I ended up doing it. They ended up giving me a 5-minute set, and I took 10 minutes because I brought more than 65 people to the show.
What? You were a bringer.
Dude. So what ended up happening was that I posted it on Facebook, and all my friends were like, dude, we've been waiting for you to do this. I had no idea that people wanted to see me perform on stage. No idea.
Well, I'm sure they've been seeing you perform around them forever.
In front of them. Right.
Wanted to see you do it on a stage.
Right. And then it worked. And then
that was
the thing. Dude, so that show was the conduit. That was the spark of what has now put me in this podcast with you, because that was my first taste of, oh, I can say stories of my life and people will laugh at them. Like, I talked about working at a call center. I talked about doing the accents. I talked about like growing up, financially unstable. Like, it was just real stuff, and everybody ate it up. And then, so now let's cut back. Miami-Dade College, I take an improv class. And that improv class was the thing that told me, you got to go to Second City.
So there's all these different things that just kind of like transported you from the next thing to the next thing, where you're going to have that aha moment. So let me
give it to you in a timeline. It was working in the call center, doing these characters, and people being like, dude, that's funny. And then just me being like, yeah, I mean, I'm just counting around. And then finally having to face my fears of being funny and doing a stand-up class, which was on February 29th, 2012. It was a leap year. So when I posted it, people were like, there's no February 29th. And I'm like, yes, there is. It's a leap year. That's how I remember it. Mm-hmm. And so then that, plus the Shakespeare play, then kind of gave me that confidence to then take this improv class at Miami-Dade College. And then that class was, every single day that I woke up and it was the day of that class, I was so excited. I was so happy to just play. And like, it all came full circle because the theater teacher in my high school that I never took and always wanted to take was my improv teacher in college.
Wow, that's super
And
cool.
I told him that. I said, dude, I always wanted to take your theater class, but instead I took wood shop. And that is a story within itself because how much time do we have, bro? Because
Don't worry about it.
Okay. Because
so
so for me, like, theater was a thing que un hombre no hace. Like, that's how I grew up. You know, like, you're not supposed to do theater. You're supposed to do wood shop. You're not supposed to be like, I remember, you know, when I did that Shakespeare play, I had makeup on my face and I felt weird having someone put makeup on my face. And I was like, what is this? What did I sign up for? But that was like my, you know, my machismo being tested and like being like, what is this? But then it was like, but I get to perform on stage and this is what I love. And I think there was also a shift in my mind of like, yes, I can be a performer on stage. And that doesn't make me all these things that theater performers have been said that they are in our culture, you know.
No, I feel you, man. The amount of like homophobia and
yes,
anti-LGBTQ, especially in the immigrant generations, towards things that they perceive as being gay or lesbian, whatever. It's like it's a big barrier to surmount because you're like, well, no, they're not. It's just an art form. Maybe it's not like fucking baseball or something where it's a sport or something. It's not masculine, but it's an art form where I feel comfortable in and where a part of me is expressed that I can't express in other parts. And like, you're right. It is a barrier to surmount, but it's more like once you're in it, you're like, I don't give a fuck about anybody else, but it might make it hard to get family to come watch it or whatever, or your homies. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. It does trigger that machismo that you're raised with, because we were raised very macho. We don't realize it. It's just we're so steeped in like tea bags in this stew of machismo that when we get taken out, like, what the fuck is this?
Right. A whole new world.
Exactly. And it takes a while to adjust. It does take you're like, oh, okay. But then once you're adjusted, you're good. Whatever, life is normal again. But for people who are still in it, they're like, whoa, you're wearing makeup and you're wearing costumes to play pretend. Like, what the fuck is wrong? Get a real job or something.
Get a real job. Take that crap off your face. After a rehearsal once, I remember I left my makeup on and I forgot. And we went to go eat, and the waiter, we went to a Latino restaurant.
Yeah.
It was a Cuban restaurant. And the guy is like taking everyone's orders and he's looking at everyone in the face. And then he turns to me and he takes my order looking at everyone else. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then when he gave us our plates of food, he would like look to the side, but then give me my plate and like not make eye contact with me. And I was like, I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I went to the bathroom and I see my face. I'm like, oh, I got so much eyeliner on. I'm just like fully basking in makeup. And I was like, oh, well, that's why he didn't want to make eye contact with me.
Oh, man. Well, you never know.
Maybe I brought out a side of him that he wasn't expecting.
Yeah, dude, you never know, man.
Dude, it's so insane. But that play, then the improv, and I have a clip of because my mom and my girlfriend at the time came to that. We did a show at my college. We did an improv show, and I did New Choice. We played New Choice, and I have a clip of it on I found it like on my MySpace or something back when I knew my MySpace login, and I like kept it, so it's somewhere in my phone. But so I got that taste and I was like, okay, I need 2 more credits. I need 2 more college credits. I can take those classes online. Let me start reaching out to Mercedes-Benz dealerships in California. And so Mercedes-Benz of Newport Beach, it's called Fletcher Jones. They were like, yeah, we'll interview you. And I was like, cool. So I put in my 2 weeks and I drove on an interview, like not even a job. I was just
I know Fletcher Jones. I live in Orange County. That's a huge dealership. Yeah. Was it the biggest in the country?
Number 1 dealership in the country. And then the dealership that I worked for was the number 7 dealership in the country. And so they know each other. And so I was like, oh, it's going to be great. They're going to call, they're going to send a rec, and they're going to be like, pick this dude up. No, it didn't end up working out that way. I ended up applying, and then I didn't end up getting the job. And I had already gotten an apartment in Newport Beach. I was paying like $1,400 for a studio.
You got an apartment in Newport Beach? That is like expensive real estate. Shit.
Dude, it was insane. It was insane. It had 2 pools. It had a gym. I was like, oh, and I ended up in LA because I didn't want to go to Chicago because me and snow, we don't get along.
No, fuck no.
I can do snow for like a week. I can snowboard and stuff, but there's no way I'm going to live in snow. And so
I've never lived in snow. I'm okay not living. I'm okay not knowing it. You know, it's fine.
But it all worked out. Dude, it's so insane. So long story short, I end up applying at a bunch of Mercedes-Benz dealerships. Like I end up putting on a suit, printing out a resume, and just trying to get work. And so my first week in LA, I go to Second City, sign up for classes. I'm like, this is what I'm here for. I don't know how I'm going to pay this rent for Newport Beach, but I'm going to go to this school. And so I end up getting a job at Mercedes-Benz of Long Beach. And they actually are like, dude, as long as you come in on days that you're not in class, you can always do your class. You can always do your shows, whatever you want. And so that was my beginning journey of improv.
That's awesome. Long Beach is better to commute from than Newport Beach too.
Dude.
So you save, I mean, it's still far, but it's better than like.
It's still far for sure. And when you go to, and then like I would take class Wednesday mornings and then stay for the shows and then go to Bordner's after and then drive home. Like after a full, but there was no way that I was going to go to class and then go back home. Like I had to stay because I had to watch the shows. I was watching Pool Party and like Sam Richardson would perform. And like, there were like 6 people in the audience. And I'm like, we're watching amazing improv right now. And there's 6 people here. And I mean, now you say Sam Richardson and people are like, oh my God, yes, Veep and all the things that he's done. And it's like, yeah, I was watching him for $1 at Second City.
Well, you know, what you did, multiple people have done. I've done it myself. It's like, well, I'm driving up to LA. I just can't be here for 3 hours. I literally have to stay for the show. I have to kill time between the show. There's other shows, that show. I have to hang out now. Like, you're right. If you don't live in LA, if you go to LA, you have to make it an event. You have to make that day count. Because I've done it a few times where I would drive for class and then I drive home for class, and it is shitty. Even if it's just the traffic, it's just like, fuck, I could have done more. So I totally understand why you did that. I mean, but also like, I don't know, when you're in that space, whatever your theater is, or you're like in the neighborhood, like I don't want to leave because I have to go back to my normal fucking life. That isn't the ideal thing I want. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not that I hate my normal life, but when you're in that theater world, you're just like, fuck, all right, I'm around people who get what I get. They love what they're doing. I love what I'm doing. Together, we're doing it, loving it together. Yes. I'm watching shows. I'm being inspired by people. I'm getting ideas. Like, you're feeding yourself in so many different ways that for me, that carried me throughout the week. It's like, all right, I had my powerful day in LA. I can go live my life now. And by the time Friday comes, it'll be done. But Saturday will be here and I'll get my juice back. It's
like a church. Yeah. It's like your church dosage. And for me, it was like, cause I was that dude in Miami that would be at a restaurant with his friends. And I would start, oh, hi did I did I did I did I did I did I. And everybody would be like, George, shut the fuck up. Like no one wanted to play with me. And so when I came to LA and I came to Second City and it was like day 1, we were already like playing games. I was like, this is it. I'm home. I'm in the right spot. And it's like, but here's the thing, Fernando, and I don't know if you feel this way as well, but it's like now it's hard for me to hang out with people who don't do improv.
No. All right. I have a similar thing. I worked as a writing tutor for a long time. So all my coworkers were like in doctoral programs, master's programs for English, right? Stuff like that. Or they're just very intelligent people. We would have these epic conversations between students that were really deep and philosophical and a lot of discussion. I feel with comedians, it's very similar. You have those kind of conversations, but there's more laughs in between.
Yeah.
What happens is when you talk to like the way that you and I are talking right now, it's like a game of catch. It's back and forth.
Yeah.
There's people out there who you're like, man, do you know about this? And like, no. Or man, did you just notice that? Wasn't that weird? And they're like, no. Because there's some people who they're just not tuned. I feel like comedians have spidey sense, or if something weird happens or there's something absurd or something's off kilter, you're like, what the fuck? All right, did we notice that? Let's talk about it. Let's dissect it. Maybe we're neurotic in that way, but some people they're not, and they're just like, nope, I see no reason to discuss that, and then they'll just be boring and normal. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're a comedian, you have to discuss things. You have to you have to touch on the nuances of the nuances.
Yeah. There was an interesting way that this UCB professor put it one time. He said, we were never the jocks. We were never the cheerleaders. We were the ones in a circle that would hear something funny and then make fun of it or repeat it. Like that was us. And that was almost like our place in that circle. It was to be that silly idiot clown, whatever you want to call it, of like, even if one of your friends was like they had a tongue twist and then you're like, you know, but it's like, it's always funny. And it's like, oh man, like no one's going to call that out. I'm going to call it out.
No, you're right. And as comedians, we do got to call it out. It's just, it's like an itch. Yeah, right. It's like you have to didn't you all see this fucking thing?
There's times where I won't say it. I'm just like, oh my God, is anyone going to say it? Should I? Oh my God, how many beats have I waited? Have I waited too long? I shouldn't say it then. Never mind.
Dude, I'm at meetings at work sometimes and like something will happen like that and I'm kind of like, no, Fernando.
Right. I can't, like, dude. Go ahead.
No, just you have to suppress it because like you do realize, all right, I'm in a professional environment now. And like, no, I have to suppress it. But with comedians, no, man, if you fuck up, they'll call you out.
For sure.
They'll be like, what the fuck were you thinking? Or did you just realize you did that? Like, yeah.
It's magic. And I realized this. So I've been seeing a therapist since March of this year, which is crazy. It's like right when the pandemic happened. Mm-hmm. And her and I have talked about hypervigilance. And hypervigilance is where you are aware of everything that's going on around you while you're having a conversation with someone. And it's like like I've talked about with her on like sometimes how it takes over and like I can't even be present because I'm so everywhere. And I was reading up on it, and people who are bilingual actually have hypervigilance at an even like, really? I guess for lack of a better term, heightened sense, because our ear is like, is that English or Spanish? Is that English or Spanish? And so we're constantly aware of whether someone is speaking English or Spanish within a room or within a space of us. And so, and as improvisers, you know, if someone does a walk-on, you have to be aware of that walk-on and like, you know, and so I think that there is that balance. So what I'm trying to say is hypervigilance is that thing that we were just talking about on how like we'll catch something where maybe someone else won't. And it's a gift. And it can be a curse if we let it take over our minds, where it's like, I can't even focus right now.
Dude, I have really learned to just kind of, I don't want to say look the other way, but like maybe not pass judgment right away, or
for sure.
I don't know. I was thinking, it's like, well, I don't know what that person's going through, or maybe they didn't mean, like, I don't know, because the urge to call it. Also, my parents are kind of neurotic, and they call shit out all the time too. You know, so like, I was just raised to be hyper vigilant at all times. So it's like, well, I mean, I'm sure you could relate it. It's like these weird social customs.
Yeah.
You know, all right, we're here. We better go say hi to that person, or like, it's this person's birthday or something. Like, if you consider doing this, or if we have a holiday coming up, are we inviting or are we being invited? It's like this weird collective social anxiety about your family's position in the larger family or whatever.
Right.
And like,
and how they rank. And rank. Who's got the bigger truck and who's got the best flang.
Exactly, man. Like,
yeah, dude.
You're right. So I think as comedians, we are hyper vigilant, but to bring it back all to you real fast, it seems to me like, although maybe you're hyper vigilant, you weren't necessarily hyper vigilant about yourself and just your love or your need to be a performer until all these things happened, where you were like, oh fuck, I need to be here and be doing this. Do you looking back on this choice, what do you think? Was it the right choice, the wrong choice? What do you think?
For me, I mean, 100% the right choice. Like, I, when I look back and I think about, so that woman, Elizabeth, that told me about Second City, I forgot to say this, but one of the things that I told her was, I could never fathom being on stage. I'm too afraid. I remember telling her that.
Are you serious? You?
Yeah, dude.
You being too afraid of being on stage? I point
Yes.
because it's like you were one of the most charismatic performers I've ever seen.
Thank you, bro.
So like, you were afraid to be on stage? Shit.
I was afraid that I was afraid that I would embarrass myself, that I wouldn't be funny, and that people would like, I don't know why I had this image of like tomatoes being thrown at me, like old school Shakespearean days, but like
The people did, yeah.
yeah, that was real. And it's like you see it in the cartoons, but I was like, I don't think that I could fathom being up on a stage and like and creating laughter. Like I could do it here in a training room. Yeah, because I have control and I'm teaching you about customer service. But like for me to perform, and even with improv, it's like I have a group of people that support me. So even in what you've seen, it's like it's me in a comfort zone of like I have a support system. But when I did my solo show, I thought I was about to cancel it because I was so afraid of like I'm going to be on stage for an hour and there's no swiping. There's no black out the lights if Jorge messes up. It's like I have to keep going. But that was like doing stand up for the first time. I was crapping my pants and I pushed myself and I was like, well, at the end of the day, I could either do it or not do it. And if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it. And so why not just do it? And then what came out was like, oh, wow, it wasn't that bad. And it was actually fun. And like people enjoyed it. And I would never have that if I didn't take the leap of driving in a car for 4 days on the whim of a job interview. But I needed to see if there was a place where I could be more funny, less serious. And it came to life where now, like, I'm able to kind of not be the funny guy all the time, which is like what I'm learning now through this pandemic of like, there is like, you know how Del Close would always say, you know, the truth in comedy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes like, you know, just being serious, that gets you the laugh. And I didn't know how to be that guy because I'm always this guy. And so now I'm getting older. My bones just aren't what they used to be. So now it's like, all right, maybe we can fathom some comedy with less movement. But yes, so whoever's listening, I would say to take that leap. The one thing I will say real quick, I had a vision maybe in 2009 or 2008. And it was weird, dude. It was me as an old man in a bed in a hospital, like with the thing in the back. And it was like, beep, beep. Like I could tell that I was old. And I had this thought, what if I would have tried comedy? And like, I remember feeling it like if it was real, like if I was an old man, I was about to die, I was in hospice. And I was like, what if I would have taken that chance? And then I kind of snapped out of it. And I was like, I'm not going to have that be my future. Like that was a thing that I told myself.
Dude, that's fucking deep.
Yeah.
Have you ever told anybody that?
I've told like a couple people that. Like I've never shared, like I think this is the first time I share it like on a podcast where like a lot of people are going to hear it, but it's so. Like, right? Hey, we'll see. Listen, regardless, it'll live forever. So, and well, Fernando, dude, it's inevitable.
That's such a powerful thing you just shared though, man. Like, all right, it's just, you literally, the fact that you had this, according to the timeline, this is, maybe that was your original point, and maybe you buried that, and then the other thing is just kind of uncovered that from what you told me, right? According to the chain of events.
Yeah, like maybe I didn't share that because I thought people would think I was crazy.
Well, no, I don't blame you, but it's your fucking life, you know.
Right.
It's your choices. You're the one living it. You know, you shouldn't do anything to please anybody.
Agreed.
But like the fact that you thought that's pretty powerful, man. Like, that is pretty deep because I have so much respect for you because there's a million funny people who they're just, I'll be the funny person in my group or in my family, and that's it. Maybe they're like,
Yeah.
I want to do more, but I'm afraid. The fact that you literally moved over here and you had all these life events that just were confirmed your gift, that were like,
They
Jorge,
kept confirming it. Yeah.
Jorge, you need to be doing this. You need to be doing this. And the thing about LA is like, there's so many people out here. All you do is meet amazing people who just elevate your own talent, either through collaborating with them
Yeah.
or just watching them. Just like, oh man, you're fucking funny. You know, we don't have to be friends. I can just be your fan and you'll inspire
Yeah.
me. But like the fact that you're out here and because you're a high level performer now. You know what I mean? Like you're at a new stage in your career, I think, or a different stage than a lot of people. Like, I hope you break through, become a movie star or whatever it is that you want to do exactly, because you are hilarious as fuck. But
Thank
you
you,
have
bro.
worked hard for it.
Hey,
You have
we're
worked
gonna get
really
there
hard for it.
together.
I hope so, dude.
Dude, I know so. So earlier I was saying it's inevitable. What I was saying inevitable to is that people are going to listen to this podcast because they're going to be like, wow, that's who they were then? That's who they were in 2020? Like, dude, that's crazy. Because, bro, you have this mind and this support for community. And I feel like, you know, like the Latinx community overall, like, you know, that new study came out, that Annenberg, the USC one, where we're 14%. Like from 2007 to like 2017 or like 2020, they analyzed every single speaking role and every single like character role for Latinx actors, and we are 4.5% representation.
Fuck.
And you have created Latinx Pachanga, and have just with that group, you have doubled, tripled, quadrupled the chances of those people and yourself to be amongst the change of our community, because now's the time. For
Yeah,
sure.
dude. Honestly, man, I'm pretty funny.
You
So
are funny, bro. I'm
thanks,
telling you.
man. Well, you as well. It's like, the thing is, like, I don't want to like be 20 years saying and give it a shot. Like, I want a career in entertainment and comedy,
Yeah.
you know, and like also lifting up others. You know, we're
Yeah.
a big part of the population, but we're not represented in the media. Or if we are, it's a few worn and tired tropes that reinforce
Yeah.
negative images. Not all of it. There's a lot of good stuff out there as well, but it's like the diversity of a representation needs to be there, but also just the actual like proportional representation. Have this much, we're this much of your population, so we should have this much of your media
Yeah.
at the
There's
very
60
least.
million Latinx human beings in America. And we are 23% of the buying power in Hollywood. So we're spending money on movies, but we're not seeing ourselves in them.
And if we
Which is
see
so interesting.
if we see us in them, I'm sure they'll sell more.
Oh, dude. And the other thing is, this is a Cuban Puerto Rican born in America, and you were born here in America?
In America, yeah. My parents are from El Salvador.
From El Salvador. So it's an El Salvadorian parents, first generation American, Cuban Puerto Rican parents, first generation American. Our connection in the grand scheme of the world, it's like, oh no, he's El Salvadorian, I'm Cuban Puerto Rican. We don't connect. You know, I'm sandwiches, they're tacos. So I don't, and I think that conversation is also what's depleting our own people, where it's like, oh, well, you're Colombian and you're Cuban and you're Puerto Rican and you're Dominican and you're Peruvian and you're Chilean. It's like, bro, we're all Latinx. And the moment that we figure that out and we realize that yes, we do have these subsets, but like it's all Latinx. And if we can come together and collaborate, dude, we're so powerful. So
Dude,
powerful.
You are right, man. We called the Latinx Comedy Pachanga because we literally just wanted the most inclusive name possible.
Yeah.
That was the whole reason behind it. And we're doing our best to include as many people as possible. But you're right, it is a lot of work. There's a lot of barriers of people wanting to be like, you know, I only fuck with this kind of Latino person, or
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck with people from California, or I don't fuck people from Miami or New York.
Even that.
There's all these barriers that like, fuck, you're kind of like, I just want to work with people. I'm not here to try to like manipulate anyone or judge anyone. I just want to collaborate. But there's like, you have to like convince people of your authenticity and your integrity. And that's its own battle. Well, Jorge, you've been a great talk today, man.
Dude, this has been amazing.
Yeah, man, we should bring you on again. I would love to hear about your Second City journey. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, if you do like maybe this is part one, and we'll do
this is
part
part
two or
one.
one. Yeah, man, because it was dude, your story, people need to hear it. Because I think a lot. I've worked with a lot of comedians who are up and coming, and not even up and coming, because I feel up and coming means you've already kind of have a voice established, and you're looking for that professional break. There's a lot of people who just want to try comedy, but the mental
Yeah.
barriers, the doubt they have, keeps them from doing it. And some of them, they quit and then they come back maybe, but a lot of them quit and don't. So maybe you're hearing your story, people will be like, wow, okay, so it's a process, it's a journey, because we
Yeah.
watch Jim Carrey and we think, wow, he's so amazing. No one considers it took him like 10 years of being on the road
Yeah.
to
He
get
did
on and
15
love.
years of improv. I mean, 15 years of stand up before he started acting.
There you go, right? So it's like no one thinks about the work that goes into just getting into a place where you can be on stage, like where you're confident, because that stage will will fuck you up if you're not right here and you're not right here.
Right.
So like
Right.
people need to hear a story. And like, what's one last thing you want to say to everybody before we leave?
Closing remarks.
Yes.
I think the biggest thing for me that I'm realizing is running towards the fear. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's like this thing where I've crapped myself so many times, and I've had so many bad shows where like I didn't listen, and I played and I did shows for 2 people. But it's like all of that stuff will make sense because you love this thing that you're doing. And so if you're running towards that, then just know that you're running in the right direction. And since we talked about Jim Carrey, like Jim Carrey, his dad failed at a thing that he didn't love, which was being an accountant. And so that showed Jim Carrey, if you can fail for something that you don't even love, I might as well fail doing something that I love. And so, I mean, take that risk. And if you're scared, hit up Fernando, hit up me, and let's have a conversation, because it's all here. It's all here. And I was telling Fernando about this book, which it's for men and women. So it's called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, but it's also Queen, like it says Queen in parentheses in there. And it's just like the archetypes of our lives, and how sometimes you are a king/queen. Sometimes you have to show up as a warrior. Sometimes you have to show up as a magician or a lover. And it's like, but it's these stages in our lives that create a sense of awareness. And fear is there, but fear is love. You just got to flip it. You got to flip it.
Wow. Well, this was a powerful conversation. Jorge, where can we follow you on social media?
Oh, so Berrios, B as in boy, E as in Edward, RRIOS, and then the number's 305, like Mr. 305. And that's on everything. And then just Jorge Emanuel Berrios if you wanted to do Facebook. But every other social media is Berrios 305. Fernando, wow, man. I haven't talked about my quinceañera days in years.
Dude, you got a pilot in there. You got a movie. You got something in there.
There is a pilot.
There's a pilot? Okay, we have to watch that pilot. There is a fucking gold mine right there. Well, Jorge, I want to thank you for coming on. Everyone listening and watching at home, I want to thank you for listening and watching. This was a great podcast. Please subscribe to it on SoundCloud and YouTube. Yes. You're all amazing. Thank you, Jorge. Adios.
Thank you. Have a good one, Fernando. Adios.